A pleasant day, everyone. At this very moment, we will having our tutorial about how to connect MySQL database to your PHP file. And also, we will teach you how to insert, update, and delete data in the database and select data from MySQL to your PHP file. Now, let's learn first how to connect MySQL database to PHP. You need to have your database.
New schema, rename it here test, and create a table in it and name it person. And a column name student ID, which is auto incremented, first name, and the last name. Then this is our database.
Before we go in coding, you need to have first your
New PHP file. And name it connection.php. Then you can drag it now to NetBeans for the coding.
and this is how to codes in connecting MySQL to your PHP file.
So before we can access the data in the database, we must create a connection to the database. So in PHP, this is done with the MySQL underscore connect function.
Your server name, username, and a password name. Database name. And that's it. That's how you connect MySQL to your PHP.
Next, let's learn how to insert data to your database using an HTML file. First, you need to create your new text document. Again, rename it .html. Here, we created our dummy. We name it index underscore .html. This HTML file will hold your text fields where you input your data. Here, we created our two boxes for our first name and we name it first name, and another text box for our last name and we name it last name. This input type submit value submit code is for the button of submission of your data, and this another type reset value reset code is for clearing your text fields. So let's create again a new PHP file and name it insert.php. Then for coding, let's drag this PHP file to NetBeans. So again, before we can access data in the database, we must create a connection to the database. And in PHP, this is done with the MySQL underscore connect function. Then a variable name first name equals get first name, where it gets the value in the first name text field. Then a last name and get last name. And a query insert into person, where person here is the name of our table in the database. And the fields, which are the first name and last name. So as we see here, we did not include the student ID because it is auto-incremented. And this is it. This is the first name text field and the last name text field, and submit it. Then we can see it has already been saved in the database. Then let's go to selecting data from database to our PHP file. Then let's make a new PHP and name it index.php. Drag it to NetBeans for the coding. So again, before we can access a data in our database, we must make a connection between the database and our PHP file. After that, we have created here a query variable which has a select asterisk from person. So person here is the name of our table. We use here MySQL underscore fetch underscore array and the variable result, which carries the select underscore from person. So this MySQL underscore fetch underscore array function, this return the first row from the record set as an array. Each call to the MySQL underscore fetch underscore array returns the next row in the record set. The while loop loops through all the record in the record set. To print the value of each row, we use the PHP row variable. To print the value of each row, we use a PHP row variable which carries the fields in our database, which are the first name and the last name. And we make a link here to link after our insert.php, and we're gonna go to our index.php for viewing the selected files in the database to our PHP file. So this is it. So we insert here AAA for example and submit it. Now let's go to update. Update statement is used to update existing records in a table. Then let's make new PHP file and let's name it save.php and drag it to NetBeans for the coding. So before we can access data in a database, let's have a connection in a database. In PHP, we use MySQL underscore connect function. So this is it. We make here an ID variable to get the ID. The variable for first name and last name. So and a variable query update person set first name and last name. So MySQL underscore query function here is used to send a query or command to a MySQL connection. We have made a link for the index.php file in order to view our updated data. So again, let's make a new PHP file. We name it here edit.php. Drag it to NetBeans for the coding. So before we can access the data from our database, let's code the connection. So here we have ID variable equals get ID. So predefined get variable is used to collect values in a form with method get. Information sent from a form with a get method is visible to everyone. It will be displayed in a browser's address bar and has limits on the amount of information to send. So we have here form action equals save that PHP question mark ID equals PHP echo variable ID to get the ID. Then we have here value equals echo row first name, and the value for the last name. Then we change the value submit to update. So the form with the method post is invisible to others and has no limits on the amount of information to send. After that, let's go to delete. Let's make again a new PHP file and we name it here delete.php. Then codes the connection between the database and our PHP file. Then again, a variable ID equals get ID and a query delete from person where student ID equals the ID variable. That's the ID. And a MySQL query function. So this function is used to send a query or command to a MySQL connection. And we have here also a form action equals insert that PHP method get. Get is visible to everyone. It will be displayed in a browser's address bar. So we have made here a link for index.php where we name it view list to view all the selected files from our database. And let's go now to index.php to create a link for our edit.php ID equals row student ID. And the link for delete.php ID equals row student ID. So this is it. For example, we have inserted here BBB value for our first name and CCC value for our last name and submit it. Now let's go to query to check if we have successfully inserted the data. Edit. So let's edit the first name to BBBBAAAA and update it. Now let's go to query to check if we have successfully updated the data